let's go at the top. Obviously the pandemic continues. Different leagues are talking about restart in different ways. You'll remember on Friday there was a meeting of the Premier League. We talked about the June 30th cliff edge. We talked about it. They did not. All they did was go through different scenarios.
Do you understand why it doesn't seem that for them, it's that they seem to think that there will be a solution found somewhere by UEFA, FIFA, leagues around Europe to make sure that either you go case by case and the players who want to extend their contract for a month, let's say, or two, they can. The ones who don't, they don't. I don't know. Something like that. Or is it still for you unbelievable that they're not trying to sort this issue first before the rest?
It's unbelievable to me that they're not even talking about it when the Premier League gets together. And I've had people saying, well, but the public will never stand for it. If players are selfish and they decide they don't want to keep playing. I've heard these arguments. They're absolutely silly to me. And then now we're seeing the first sort of pushback from lower division clubs. There's a meeting. We're going to get into this with Chris, but a bunch of clubs in League One and League Two are saying, "Screw this, we're not playing. We're not playing at all. It's just too expensive for us to open up." And I think Premier League clubs are going to be the next ones who are going to come around to this and say, "You know what? If we can work out a reasonable deal for the TV money with the broadcasters, or even keep all of it, why should we go back and keep playing? Why should we go and extend this further and further?" All these people were taking it for granted. Well, you have to finish the season. I think opinions are changing a little bit, Jules.
Yeah, you're right. I spoke to a couple of players as well through the weekend who are either out of contract on June the 30th or on loan and supposed to maybe go back to the parent club on July the 1st. And again, I think the answers were very different. Some said, okay, I'm happy to stay where I am and extend my contract to finish the season, whenever that is. But the other one was like, I don't want to stay here. This is really not the kind of club or level I wanted to be at. I would rather go back to my parent club and find another solution. So for me, it will only go down to case by case. And I don't know if that's workable. You can tell me what you think. Or if you need a bit like, what we think about bigger rules, but regulations. So everybody has the same regulation and then it works for you or it doesn't. But you can't have case by case.
Because different countries have different laws. This is the absurdity here. Serie A unveiled their plan to come back. It needs to be approved on Wednesday. Well, the first level of approval. And they went through all this. It's a bit like the German plan, because obviously, I guess Italy probably up next after Germany. I mean, they have 65,000 tests a day and whatever. But it's just so complicated. I mean, when you actually go through this, right, they're talking, okay, maybe May 4th, the players can come back and they can start training individually. They'll be fully tested. They'll be given the antibody test as well, which, by the way, the antibody test, it's not clear how reliable it is right now. And, of course, that could change in the next 2 weeks, but who knows? B, we don't know if it does give you immunities. There's even one, you wonder what is the point in giving it other than to gather data on who's had the virus. For the first 2 weeks, they'll be screened and they'll train individually, and then after that, they can pass and they can train as a group. They all have to live in the same place. And the initial draft that they laid out is everybody will live at the training ground.
But the problem 8 clubs out of 20 have facilities like that, right?
Exactly, and it's not just the players, by the way. It's the players, it's the medical staff, it's the backroom staff. It's all these other people who have to be there as well. Yeah, 8 out of 20 in Serie A. Serie B and Serie A in the lower divisions, I don't see how those guys can start up at all. And then maybe you can start playing again at some point in June. They'll be in hermetically sealed buses. And I'm just thinking to myself, what, 3 months? 3 months of this crap? Is this what footballers signed up for? 3 months away from their families? As if they were going to, there's tours of duty in war, which are shorter than 3 months.
I know. And they call it a pre-season. Well, pre-season is not 3 months. Pre-season, you go away for 2 weeks maximum, to LA, and you play a few friendlies in front of packed stadium in the US, and then you come home. It's not the same.
Increasingly, I am convincing myself that the only reason leagues are doing this, they're going, well, except for Germany, because Germany is kind of their own little world, but also they have fewer matches to make up. I think they're doing this just because if it does go to court with the broadcasters, they can say, look, we tried every which way. It simply wasn't possible. So don't ask us for money back, or we won't give money back if you've already paid.
Well, you know what I'm amazed, and I think we will mention it as well in the quick links, but quickly here, is the leagues put those plans together, right, and the structure, and again, you can't blame them for trying to come up with ideas and things, what is positive, but that is then they put out something and say, okay, this is where we're thinking about doing. In France, for example, June the 17th, you resume the season, and then for 5 weeks you have to play every 3 days, pretty much, and then the managers. They've got a WhatsApp group together in France, and they go like, "Hang on, we can't have our players playing every 3 days. It's just this is suicidal. This is crazy stuff." So then the managers now come in and said, "We're refusing. If we have to play for every 3 days for 5 weeks, we're not gonna go back." No, and then suddenly, so it looks like leagues are coming up with all those ideas and actually not really having an exchange with players and managers and whoever else. But I think, okay, do you think that's doable? Is it possible? And then you have to go back to scratch once the manager said that's not going to work every 3 days or every 2 days, even if you have 5 subs like we mentioned on the show on Thursday.
No, it's clearly not working out, and I think honestly I'll be very surprised if anybody, except again maybe Germany, actually manages to go through with this in any credible way. In Serie A, you're right. You've had, I mean, in Spain you have Suso, for example, saying that he's not going to come back and play. In Serie A, it looks like Higuain is saying, I don't really want to go back at all. You've had 6 of the 20 Serie A teams making it clear that they think that we should just stop now. And, you know, people say, oh, what about promotion relegation? You can find a solution. You can compensate clubs. We've been through this. I feel like we've said this every show. One final thing I want to touch upon is the wage cuts. We talked about this a little bit with Arsenal. Now, Chelsea looking like they're working out a deal as well. Frank Lampard taking a hefty salary cut. The players, I think it's like something like 10% of their annual salary, or 10% on a monthly basis, but then it gets scaled back and tiered if they play again and whatever. This is common sense from the players. What we don't want to see is anybody furloughed, right? And any of the non-playing staff furloughed.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.